Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is James Tammaro. James is the VP of Engineering at CatapultX. James, welcome to the show.
Hey, JP. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. So, James, let's start with yourself. Can you give us a brief overview of your background in engineering, from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, and take us up to today as the VP of Engineering for CatapultX?
So I've been an engineer for 20 years. I've always loved tech, always been a video gamer, always been intrigued and interested about how it all has worked. And also had a love for music my whole life. And part of music brought me into technology, from recording music to building websites. And that just spiraled into a career for me. And I started working at companies that do video editing, and ultimately started working at a company that did video analytics for sports teams, and then found myself at the weather company doing analytics and forecasting for weather. And that really just spiraled in my data science love and my love for technology, which brought me to CatapultX.
James, thank you for that. I appreciate the overview of your background. And before we move on to CatapultX, already looking back at your own career, you've made some pretty distinctive industry switches, which is always a little bit daunting, but you've done it and you've done it successfully. So looking back on those changes, what was your mindset at the time, and what gave you the confidence to make such drastic industry changes?
I'd have to say that every role that I've been in, I've learned so much from the company and the people I've worked with and managers that I've had along the way, that it really prepared me for really tackling anything in my journey. And any advice I would give to someone is, when you're ready for your next role, you'll know, you'll feel it, and just be prepared and go after it.
Thank you for that. So now leading into CatapultX, so you've been with the company over a year now. You entered as the director and then got promoted to VP and running the entire engineering group. Let's start with CatapultX as a business. Can you explain to the audience who you are, what you do, what the mission of the organization is, and then we'll talk about your role as the head of the group.
So CatapultX is the pioneer of on-stream video advertisements. You and your listeners are very familiar with in-stream advertisements. You click skip on them every chance you get, and you get annoyed with them when they stop the video at an impactful moment. With on-stream, we don't interrupt your experience. Our ad units are strategically placed on the stream while the video is continuously playing. But we're more than that at the end of the day. We're first and foremost an AI company whose mission is to achieve the deepest understanding of video using artificial intelligence. It includes computer vision, NLP, and a whole host of analytics that we use to identify different moments that take place in a video. Using our patent-pending technology, we're able to bridge the gaps that currently exist between advertisers, publishers, and viewers. Instead of tracking someone with cookies and showing them an ad that is reflective of something that the viewer saw or bought last week and is no longer interested in, we give advertisers the ability to select contextually relevant moments in the video to target against. So let me give you an example. Take a video that consists of snowboarding competition during an X Games. In today's world, you would get an ad for car insurance. In CatapultX's world, you might see ads for snowboards, boots, winter coats, or when applying data like current weather, an ad for hot chocolate. As moments change throughout the video, the targeting changes. And take a football game with broadcasters, you might see an advertisement for clothing during half while broadcasters are speaking and in view of the camera, but then name brand shoes and jerseys or future game tickets during the game. We really open up a vast amount of inventory never before available. But along with that, we're improving the experience. Advertisers are targeting what a person is interested in at that moment. Publishers are getting ads that are relevant to their content with higher CPMs, and the viewer isn't taken away from what they're interested in. Our AI platform is truly revolutionizing the ad tech industry.
Absolutely. It sounds quite revolutionary. Knowing what I've come to learn through doing these various podcasts, hearing you describe that, it sounds like an incredibly complex problem given the real-time data flow, low latency, all the challenges that come with that. Can you give us some insight into just what it's like for you and your group to work on this day to day, and how you're able to do this in real time?
There's different aspects to what we're doing. There's different ways video is consumed on the internet. There's VOD, video on demand. And that's an easier problem for us to tackle because the video isn't a live stream that's coming through. It's pre-rendered, and we're able to pre-analyze and have those moments ready to go on the fly when any user is accessing that video for consumption. When you're getting into live stream, right, that's a different problem altogether because we're taking those bytes in on the fly and we're taking those images from that video, and then we're running our analytics over those images in real time and getting that data back up to the consumer as fast as possible. And we're always continuing to improve that process, whether it's adding servers, streamlining our analytics, adding multi-threading where possible. It's an ongoing job for us to continue to improve that and speed that up as the technology progresses as well.
So James, you talked about how this is revolutionizing in video advertising. Is there a recent project or an example of some exciting work that you and your team have been involved in that would help tell the story from customer, the concept to the execution and the impact?
So we just recently ran a campaign with a video game company, and through that campaign, we were really able to take their launch. They're launching a new version of this game. And we were able to take that launch and send it out to our entire publishing network, but relevant to the game itself. So not just the sites were about video games. Those are great to target, right? You're targeting gamers, but we're also able to target what the game was about in the real world. So anytime we saw that sort of piece functioning in the real world, we were able to show a game advertisement.
Amazing. And I think any of us gamers out there who are starting to notice advertisements pop up in and around gaming will understand what you're talking about. So it's an interesting field indeed. I want to now get your insight on the growth of CatapultX from your time being there, and the growth of the team, and anything that's unique about Catapult that you've noticed.
Yeah, the company's growing fast. As you can imagine, talking about our technology, it has value in many different areas, even beyond ad tech. We were actually the most selected company in Hype Sports Global Virtual Accelerator 2.0. We were selected out of 1,500 companies for Plug and Play Ventures Media in Ad Startups Batch 3. And most recently, we were named 2021 Ad Exchanger Programmatic Power Player. We have a global team of very talented engineers that we're looking forward to growing even further in the next quarter. Many of those positions will focus around different aspects of data science.
You are listening to the Alldus Podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
You've been very successful in growing data teams at scale and managing. So how do you go about doing that? How do you go about growing a team in a startup, fast-paced environment while maintaining high performance and staying on top of the various projects that you're working on?
Yeah, great question. I really ascribe to the agile methodology when it comes to anything engineering related, and that includes on the data science team, even in R&D. Iterative process, don't boil the ocean, but let's make good incremental progress as we go and as we build this together as a team. My goal in building out any product-based data science organization is to get the right balance of analysts and build. Notwithstanding any unicorns out there, typically I lean more towards specialists in the analyst roles and generalists in the builders roles. These aren't hard set rules, but I'm happy with a data scientist who's great at stats or as an ML engineer and can't build a highly available fault tolerant system. And the same goes for my builders. They don't need to be data scientists and can be more generalists when it comes to building out our infrastructure and our systems that the products run on. So I'd be looking for statisticians and data journalists that can really help crunching their numbers and adding value to our customers through their insights. Obviously, a team of ML engineers focused on continual training, testing, and the refining of all our models. And then software engineer DevOps responsible for the products and infrastructures themselves. I can see us ending up with multiple Scrum teams consisting of each of these. And who knows, perhaps a listener or two could be on one of those teams.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. I think many people, once they listen to this who are familiar with the industry, will see the complexity of the problem that you're trying to solve, which always makes for the best work. I want to now switch it back to yourself, because you've obviously worked in a lot of different industries now, and you've landed in a really unique one at CatapultX. What are you enjoying most about the work you're doing?
It's amazing to be part of something that's changing an entire industry. That opportunity doesn't come along very often. For so long, ad tech operated by tracking users and what they do around the internet. And we're already seeing a massive impact on Apple's new privacy standards and what that's having on the sectors of the industry still focusing on that philosophy of targeting. With the removal of third-party cookies in 2022 coming up on the Chrome side, the ability to target the user becomes even harder. With our contextual-based advertisement, this problem doesn't exist. We've inverted the model by targeting the content, not the person. Put that together with the fact that the tech is just awesome, not to mention that the people are wonderful. I really wouldn't want to work anywhere else right now.
I know we talked at the beginning initially, James, about your experience moving from company to company, but I want to come full circle on that now, because you and I have spoken previously about trends that you notice, whether it be from candidates and engineers, scientists moving across industry, or even more challenging sometimes is the move from academia to industry. And I know you've got some great insight on that. So I definitely want to give you the platform to share what you've learned and what advice you can offer to people looking to make the switch, whether it be across industry where it's completely different, or people transitioning out from academia.
Yeah, I'll take both of those. The first one is people looking to make the switch. Tech is tech at the end of the day. And while we can love what we're doing from an industry perspective, tech is so vast in how it can affect each industry that if you're interested in another industry, you'll be able to do the tech in that industry if you're able to do the tech in another industry. You just need to, have confidence in yourself to be able to make the switch, make the move, and even switching from maybe more of a traditional software engineer to a data scientist role. If you're an analytic person, if you have those abilities, that's great, because if you can add the software engineering chops that you may have, developed over the past 10 years or so to that, you just become that much more powerful as a candidate in the industry. And to address the academics and the more junior engineers, really what we find when we bring them out of the college atmosphere is that I tell them, this isn't your final paper. This isn't your final grade. A lot of them take that first project and they want to get it done completion, like the whole thing. And we're really an iterative industry. We want to get to market. We want to make incremental progress and go from there. Look at something like Tesla didn't start with autonomous vehicles that drove themselves all over the place. Really what you saw in car industry is they started with self-parking and went from there. So we don't need to solve the whole world's problems. We don't need to boil the ocean. I've said that a couple of times in this interview, but I believe that we need to make incremental success. And I feel like sometimes academia is so concerned about handing in a paper and getting a final grade on that paper that it doesn't translate well to building software. And so that's a tough transition that some people make, but just remember that as you get in there. We want to make small incremental progress on what we're doing, and we don't need to boil the ocean.
I think it's such a powerful message, and we hear it a lot from many different leaders of data science groups, or even right the way up to CEO level. Finished is better than perfect. You've got to add value. And that's one of the most critical parts to the success or failure of engineers and data scientists early on. Final question from me then, James. You've given us some insight into the approach to iterative progress, but when you look ahead for the future of CatapultX, what are you most excited about?
So yeah, I'm most excited about what else we can do with this technology beyond ad tech, because it's so vast in its applications. Not to say that ad tech isn't exciting what's to come there. We have CTV, we have live streaming sporting events coming up in our very near future. And I'm excited for all that. What else is applicable for our vast, deep knowledge of video that we could, share with the world? So I'm excited for that discovery and finding out what that will bring to us and the company.
And we're certainly excited to see that as well. And I'm sure with that continuous innovation, there's going to be a lot more growth. You've already talked about the opportunities for engineers, machine learning, data scientists. We're excited to see what you guys can do. James, thank you again for coming on today, talking to us. Really appreciate you sharing your own background and giving us the overview of CatapultX. Fascinating what you're doing. And we look forward to seeing what you guys can accomplish in the year ahead.
Thanks, JP. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.